Masked Hero.
Hello everybody and welcome to another new player guide, the series where we look at a hero's 15 cards. We look at an example deck. Currently we are going with the strategy of exclusively using the core set and the wave that the hero came out of, so that you're trying to do your next steps. You go, okay, what can I do with this character? As I'm a new player, as the premise would imply, what can I do with this? And then we'll look at the Nemesis and the Obligation to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of this character. So this week we are looking at Teddy Altman, aka Hulkling. And yeah, let's get into it. Teddy Altman is a alter ego with 4 recovery, has the Kree and Skrull traits, and the ability and the text of you cannot have more than one shapeshift upgrade in play. Shape changer ability, which is an action, search your deck and discard pile for a shapeshift upgrade, add it to your hand, limit once per round. This is going to be important. He has a 5 hand size, which is a little unusual for an alter ego, and 13 hit points. So he is bulky, and because of that has a little bit of a limited hand size. I would say that limited hand size does not matter, because as we will get into, I guess right up front, we'll just say that the shapeshift upgrades you're going to go grab all have double resources on them. So this can just represent, free 2 double resource. In your opening hand, you have one of them. You put it down to play something out. You just put it back into your hand, and you just got it to do with whatever you're going to be doing with it. I would say this is not a spectacular alter ego, but it is a pretty good one in terms of like what it's able to do. It's just a baseline. Then let's look at Hulkling. He is a hero with 1 thwart, 1 attack, 1 defense, the Avenger, Kree, and Skrull traits, and the ability of Shape Change. Force response after a shapeshift upgrade enters play under your control. Discard each other shapeshift upgrade you control and ready Hulkling. I don't see a situation where they're going to have like 3 of these are kind of like all within context of each other, because when each comes down, the other one you had out should be disappearing. But this is written in such a way to make sure that there's no shenanigans that are happening. You're just getting rid of whatever shapeshift upgrade you had in play. All well and good. I think readying up Hulkling is a thing about this that I sometimes forget about. I just go, oh, we put down a shapeshift upgrade. Let's bump the other one out. Overall, I think that is one strong thing about him, is that he can be an alter ego, recover, flip over. You can put out a shapeshift upgrade. You can ready him back up. So you sort of get free defenses. You get free recoveries as long as you have that shapeshift upgrade ready and able to put into play. Overall, I do think that obviously his stats are a little weak, but we are going to be supplementing those with his shapeshift upgrades. And I think that this just gives you a template to allow Hulkling to be whatever you need him to be. If you're in justice, if you're in aggression, if you're in protection, you can tailor him to be whatever you need him to be, because somewhere in there is going to be a shapeshift upgrade that is going to be able to kind of be leveraged. And I think that makes him a very adaptable and very strong hero in many contexts. He's not maybe an S tier hero, but he probably is an A tier hero in the right hands. But let's talk about those shapeshift upgrades. There are 4 of them, and we're going to be talking about them one by one. But let's get into them, because I think that's going to add a lot of context to what Hulkling is capable of doing. So first, let's look at Intimidation Shape. It is a 2-cost upgrade, shapeshift trait. Hulkling gets +2 thwart and a force response of when an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. We've seen this on at least Nick Fury, one of his suit upgrades. I feel like there might be other like upgrades you discard or events. Either way, this is just kind of a fun effect. You are set up in such a way that you're going to be able to address threat, and you're able to sit there and you can stay in hero form, you don't get attacked, and you just have that natural 3 thwarting that's going to be able to kind of offset the scheming that the enemies are doing. This can get out of hand. I have not hit situations where this was detrimental, but definitely where it's just you need to keep that in mind. You can't just have this shape out and not have a plan for a main scheme that's about to get completed. Additionally, we have the hero response of after you play an event, exhaust, intimidation shape, draw a card. Now all the shapeshift abilities are going to have some kind of hero response on them, and that is part of why Hulkling is a event focused hero. You want to be playing events, you want to be leveraging them. It turns every event into something, whether it's drawing a card or dealing some damage or thwarting in some way, or maybe healing up a damage. I forget what all of them do. We'll get into them in just a second, but it does mean that Hulkling doesn't necessarily look like he's an event, hero on the tin, but when you dive into his kit, you begin to discover like, oh, he wants to be playing events, so you're probably going to be playing 12 to 15 events to just kind of like fill out and make it so that you always have an event ready so that you can be using whatever ability is on his Shapeshift upgrade in play. Moving on, we've got Hulk Shape, which is a 2-cost upgrade. I believe they're all 2-cost upgrades. Shapeshift again, and then Hulkling gets +2 attack, +1 defense. So suddenly he is a 1/3/2. It's pretty awesome. Hero response: after you play an event, exhaust Hulk Shape, deal 2 damage to an enemy. And then has the 2 physical resources on it. I guess the Intimidation, if I didn't point it out, has 2 mental resources on it. And yeah, this is just a fun time as well. You just get to have a big attack. You get to have at least a reasonable defense if that's going to be something that's going to matter. But overall, you play an event, and that event just has deal 2 additional damage. And that can be really strong, because I would even say that you don't have to be in aggression to worry about that. It's just like, hey, I can be a character that can be thwarting and also deal 2 damage to take out a minion. And that's pretty cool. Winged Shape, which is a shapeshift ability again, or shapeshift upgrade again. Upgrade for 2 and gives him +1 thwart, +1 attack, +1 defense. He gains the aerial trait, which again is something that you can play into. And a hero responsive: after you play an event, exhaust Winged Shape, remove 2 threat from the scheme. So again, like I said, with Hulk Shape, where you don't have to be in aggression to be dealing damage. Oh, and I guess energy and mental. But you don't have to be in a particular aspect to play into that. It can just be, I'm doing what my deck is doing, and I'm also contributing by removing threat from a scheme. And 2 can sometimes just be enough to push over a side scheme to just say, hey, just get this into range, I'll take care of it, and we can just move on. That also means that when you're playing in something like Justice, you can use cards like Chance Encounter or what's the other one that I'm thinking of? Overwatch. You can have those cards that don't necessarily like need you to have done a basic thwart to remove the last threat. It's just like whenever you remove threat from something, remove threat from somewhere else. You can, or whenever this side scheme is defeated, go grab an ally. Like that. This card definitely pairs well with those in a Justice context, because you're able to go, hey, sometimes you're just taking off a little bit of threat here, kind of as an addition to something you were already doing, and you can benefit from that. And then last one is Armored Shape. This has got the energy and the physical resource on it. Shapeshift again, 2 cost. Gives +1 attack, +2 defense, and gains Retaliate 1. And hero response: after you play an event, exhaust Armored Shape, heal 2 damage from Hulkling. So this is one that I don't necessarily get a lot of use out of. I can definitely see the advantages of it. Just going completely into protection mode, even in an aggression deck, and just be like, I'm going to defend, I'm going to retaliate 1, I'm going to play an event, I'm going to heal that damage back up. So I might be just surviving on not taking any damage, because I'm just regrowing it like Bishop does. And this is, I think, a very handy upgrade, but like I said, one that I haven't really leveraged that much. It usually comes down to just being a double resource for me, because I'm more focused on, do I want to be in the Intimidation, the Hulk, or the Winged Shape? I think this is one that I might even be underselling, because I do think that there is a lot of value to it. It just might be most potent in a very particular deck. If you're enjoying this content, you may also enjoy some other content creators from around the community. First off, we've got Critical Encounters, a podcast where they talk about the villains and the modular encounter sets. We got The Winning Hand, which goes and looks at 1 card every episode, goes deep on the art, the power level, along with other podcasts that come out from time to time through that channel. We've got the Sidekicked podcast talking about allies, the Stunned and Confused podcast talking about any number of different topics. And then for gameplay and just general variety, we have Rey Plays Games, Solo Marvel Champion, MC Deck Discussions, which does a lot of deck discussions, and the Charred Gambit, who does a lot of just, general content from around the game. Check some of them out, let them know I sent you, and let's get back to the video. Moving on to his identity-specific ally, we've got Wiccan. He is a 2-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points, Avenger and Mystic traded. Response: after you play Wiccan from your hand, search for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. So I think in the last new hero video, I said that Moon Knight is maybe one of the best allies. I think Wiccan is probably also up there. I think he was dethroned or thrown down a couple places by Moon Knight existing. But they both came out on the same day, so it's not like it was a big thing. It was, you just had Wiccan hype, and then suddenly you were like, no, screw it, Moon Knight's the best. But yeah, this is a fun thing to do. There are ways for you to have this show up in other people's decks, whether that be Make the Call or Cameo. And I just think that overall, just being able to go grab an identity-specific event is going to be good for Hulkling, but it's also going to be good for anybody else if you happen to have the way to kind of do some cross-pollination. And he's cheap. I appreciate that he has a high natural thwart, and overall, I think he's just doing good things. He's not as busted as, like I said, Moon Knight, but I do think that he has his place, and I always enjoy having him in play. Moving on to the identity-specific events, we have 3 copies of Shapeshifter Strike. A 2-cost event, attack superpower traded, hero action, attack, deal 5 damage to an enemy, ready your Shapeshift Upgrade. This is absolutely one of those cards that helps with the fact that you go, okay, so I can play one event, I can do something, I can maybe heal some damage back or remove 2 threats. Like, oh no, his stuff also says, hey, while you're at it, get another activation out of your Shapeshift Upgrade. Go to town. I think that this is, for 2, I think that this looks a little underpowered. It's only dealing 5 damage. I think that's kind of in a range where you almost would rather do more and pay a little bit more to deal 7 or 8. It's like, okay, I guess. But I think this does enough good work for you that it is, it's not slacking off. It's doing the right thing, and it's definitely going to be a helpful card. Armored Defense, 2 copies. It is a 1-cost event, defense traded. Hero Interrupt Defense. When an enemy attacks, deal damage to it equal to your defense. After the attack, give Hulkling a tough status card. So this is just fun. You can take an attack, and maybe you can take out an enemy real easily. Get yourself into that defense, or I guess any form that gives you extra defense, and suddenly you're dealing 2 or 3 damage to an attacking enemy, and maybe it's the villain, and you are able to full defense against them, and you gain a tough status card, which just kind of either helps for the minion attack, or just helps you on the next villain attack, and that's great. Impersonation, a favorite card of mine, is a 2-cost event, superpower thwart traded, and hero action thwart, remove 4 damage from a scheme. If it removed the last threat from that scheme, you may change to alter ego form. I think that's very powerful. Anytime that you can change to alter ego multiple times, or anytime you can do a form change more than the one time you get a turn, I think it's a card that should at least get you to sit up and kind of like to examine. I would say that 4 is enough to say that this could reasonably do that. In single player, obviously, much more often get a side scheme for 4 and then just kind of knock it out. In multiplayer, it's going to be a little bit more strategic, but I think that if you're combining that with your shapeshift form that removes threat, you should be able to kind of chip down and get to a point where this is going to be able to get you an alter ego, which also means that you're going to be able to, put a form back into your hand, either from the discard pile or from your deck. And I think this is a card that seems simple, but can definitely lead you down a lot of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my turn. I'm going to impersonate, or I'm going to do impersonation to do this, and which is going to allow me to do that. And maybe I can recover, and I can still be in hero form when the turn ends. Whatever. That is all contextual to what you're looking at turn to turn. But yeah, overall, I like this card, and it does a lot of good work for me. Maybe it's because I'm kind of a Justice player. Hello, if you are enjoying this content, if this happens to be the 3rd video of mine you've watched today, I would really love a subscription. It goes a long ways. Additionally, if you have discretionary spending, this is not required, but I do have members opened up. I want to make members only content. The demand's just not there yet. But they do get to see the videos as soon as they are live. That can be 24 hours notice. That can be a week and a half's notice. But you get that content right away. Any form of encouragement, any form of support is definitely appreciated. I won't take up any more of your time. Then we've got 1 copy of Alien Physiology, 3-cost upgrade with the superpower trait. It has the responsibility of exhaust alien physiology, generate a wild resource, 2 wild resource instead if you are paying for your Hulkling card. So considering the fact that I think I didn't even point this out, but he has 5 hand size on both sides. And this is the kind of card that's really going to be able to allow you to get in all of your cards pretty easily. This is a good way to get your shapeshift stuff into play, but it also, impersonation costs 2. His Shapeshift Strike additionally also costs 2. So this is just a way to kind of cheat those into play and really make them worth it, because suddenly paying essentially 1 resource that's in play, that's always going to be there, for remove 4 or deal 5 is even better. Like, that just makes it like so fun to play with. And like I said, this is also just a way that for one card in play, you can just exhaust it and put in one of your shapeshift forms. 2 is a magic number for Hulkling, and yeah, I think this is one that is a little pricey, but definitely worth the cost. Then we've got the 0 cost event Shapeshifter, superpower traded. Search your deck and discard pile for a Shapeshift upgrade and add it to your hand. So basically what this says is discard a card to go grab a double resource. Additionally, you have the ability to play out the Shapeshift upgrade, and then you get to ready back up, and you get to have different stats, and you get to do whatever you want. It does allow, like, extra readies are stellar. I think putting him at 13 hit points was smart because now you can't put in limitless stamina because you just have a bunch of limitless staminas already in your deck, and they were wise to do that. But yeah, this is a fun card that allows you to kind of go multiple directions and really be strategic with what you're doing, and I think that that's super strong. And last card of his kit, we have the Altman Residence, a 1-cost support with the location trait, alter ego action, exhaust Altman Residence, heal 2 damage from Teddy Altman, and shuffle 1 Hulkling card from your discard pile into your deck. Yeah, no complaints here. This is a fun effect. I think it's going to be doing a lot of good for you. I'm usually not that high on alter ego actions just because they seem so situation dependent, and I don't always, I'm just not the biggest fan of them. I think this is one that's going to be doing you a lot of good work. This also means that Hulkling has a lot of recursion because not only are you able to, as Teddy, put a shapeshift card back into your hand, but you're able to heal up some damage and put another card that gets shuffled into your deck that you can get later, and it just kind of gives you some longevity. It doesn't always jump out, but it's like this also means you probably are taking less encounter cards from decking yourself because you're just not decking yourself that extra time in a game. This can just kind of, over the course of the game, accrue you enough cards to kind of make up for an entire hand. And that's just great. And I love it. And yeah, overall, I think this is a pretty good alter ego support. But let's talk about the example deck. Hulkling, when he came in the Civil War box, came as a protection hero, and I do think that is a good place for him to be, but I wanted to see what would happen with Justice, and I tried this deck out, and I was pretty pleased with what happened. Obviously, like I've already said, Hulkling is a event hero, so you want to be bulking your deck up with events. I think that Justice gives him a good direction to go with that kind of that kind of event-leaning theme. But let's walk through the deck and just kind of talk about the pluses and minuses, and maybe the cards that you take this as the first step, but what's the cards that you might want to upgrade out of as you grow your card pool. Right off the bat, we have Daredevil. He is a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Responsibility: after Daredevil thwarts, deal 1 damage to an enemy. I think that just if you're going to be the person who's in the thwarting role, you're going to get 3 activations out of this. You're going to be able to do some decent amount of thwarting, and you're going to be able to handle tough statuses. You're going to be able to handle just smaller minions that you're not too concerned about, or just put things into the range where a basic attack can handle that. He's an ally that I find historically I'm not defending with unless it really calls for it. This is one where I do want to try to get 3 thwart activations out of him, and honestly 2 attacks or 3 attacks, whatever combination is not bad either. But I do like the idea of thwart for 2, deal a damage here, thwart for 2, deal a damage there, and that's my core use of him. But like I said, there's always a chance that you're defending with him just because you need to stabilize. Then we've got a new version of Hawkeye, an ally for 3 with 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Hawkeye enters play with 4 arrow counters on him. Response: after an ally makes a basic thwart, which we're doing with Daredevil, remove 1 arrow counter from Hawkeye, deal 2 damage to a minion. So, like I kind of insinuated, Daredevil and Hawkeye are 2 allies that you're not going to be able to do in 1 turn, probably. But if you can get both of these out, it's just great. You thwart, you deal damage here, you deal 2 damage to a minion. And those 2 in combination actually work really, really well. And that was a reoccurring engine that if I had the ability to just do ally recursion, this would be the 2 allies I would be recurring. Mockingbird is a core set ally, 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Response: after Mockingbird enters play, stun an enemy. This can just be good to just stun the villain. This can be good to stun a problematic minion that is scary in a scenario-specific situation. Overall, probably a card that you will upgrade out of at some point, but a good starting ally to have, and she's
kind of almost a gold standard, always going to be good. But like I said, sometimes you get into a context where you're just like, I'm not really looking to stun. In fact, like there are situations where stunning the villain is a negative because they do something when they get a status put onto them, and you're just asking for it then. But yeah, overall, Mockingbird, fun card. Nick Fury, long-term, staple-ish core set kind of card. You're going to be playing this a lot. 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points, and a force response of after Nick Fury enters play, choose to either remove 2 threat from a scheme, draw 3 cards, deal 4 damage to an enemy. At the end of the round, so after the villain and encounter cards have all gone through, if Nick Fury is still in play, discard him. He's a good one to put into play in a situation where you're going to be in hero form and stay in hero form, because then he's just going to be the automatic defense for you. If you don't do that, don't get hung up on that. I've gotten hung up on that too many times. But removing 2 threat, drawing 3 cards, basically drawing back almost what he costs for you, giving you a new hand, or dealing 4 damage to an enemy. All those are good options. And yeah, there's no reason to not play him. I've upgraded out of him before, but he's not a bad card at all. Assess the Situation, which was something that came in Civil War, and I think also came in the core set. I don't remember. But it is a 0-cost event. That's fine for us because we want to be playing events. And it just gives a +1 hand size at the end of the phase. So that means you're going to have a 6 hand size. Definitely reads like a do-nothing card, but in Hulkling, it's going to get your shapeshift abilities going. And it's also going to give you that additional card, which could be enough to kind of change the way that your turn's going to look, because you're just going to have that extra resource that can just be the tipping point to do more in a turn. Got 4 Justice, core set card, but 2-cost event. Thwarting, remove 3 threat from a scheme, 4 instead if you paid using a mental resource. That's not going to be a promise, but if you look at the icon split here, we have a lot of mental resources. We do have Genius in the deck, so you're going to, and plus the double resources for our upgrades. There's a strong chance that in the 2 resources you use to play this, you're going to be able to remove 4 threat. And at a base level, this is one you will upgrade out of eventually as your card pool grows, but at a baseline, this is a pretty good effect. Great Responsibility is a card that I don't commonly play, but I thought was going to be interesting here, and it hasn't proven to be detrimental yet. So it is a Justice event for 0, Hero Interrupt. When any amount of threat would be placed on a scheme, you take it as damage instead. Hulkling has the ability to recover damage enough, and he has enough hit points in general, that this is a pretty good way to basically stop the main scheme from getting out of hand, take some additional damage, and you just recover it over the course of the next couple turns, whether it be from your form or just from alter ego. You don't get penalized too much for this being a thing you do. I think you only need 2 copies. I don't know that you need the full 3 to kind of have it play the role that it needs to play. And additionally, it has the right resource to be a 4 Justice, resource card. Then we've got Evaluate Threat, which I've talked about in the past, but I think this is strongly becoming a staple for a lot of Shield and Avenger traded decks. Comes into play with 2 threat per player, costs 1, and each player, when defeated, each player may search their deck and discard pile for an Avenger or Shield card in general. We have plenty of that in this deck. You add that to your hand, reduce the cost to play each of those cards by 2 until the end of the phase. So that's going to make Hawkeye cheaper, that's going to make Mockingbird, Nick Fury cheaper, Wiccan, is also going to be cheaper. And then as we move over to the supports, it's going to make something like Avengers Mansion, which is a core set card you're probably aware of, and Helicarrier, and Quinn Carrier actually. It's going to be pretty much a catch-all for whatever you're looking to do. And I think that, like I said, in the right deck, I think Evaluate Threat is quickly becoming a staple card. I got the 3 general resources, and then we've also got Power of Justice. I think that we've hit the tipping point. We've got enough things that this will be a double resource for that it's going to be helpful, but you're probably very aware of what that card does. Avengers Mansion is a 4-cost basic support card. Max 1 per player, exhaust Avengers Mansion, choose a player, that player draws a card. Don't think this is going to be too hard to play out because you do have the double resources in your hand, and 5 is not that bad. This could be your entire hand though. That's fair, but I do think that the benefit of drawing an additional card every turn should be enough to kind of offset that awkward dead turn that you might be having. Helicarrier is also just nice to help. I would say this might be the one that I would upgrade out of the basic supports in general, but maybe I'm wrong there. 3-cost support, max 1 per player, exhaust this card, choose a player, reduce the resource cost for the next card that player plays by 1. I think I would rather have card selection over cost reduction in terms of Avengers Mansion versus Helicarrier, but again, that's up to you. Quinn Carrier is just good for any Avengers traded thing. It is a 3-cost basic support. Play only if your identity has the Avenger trait, and as a resource, you can exhaust Quinn Carrier to generate a wild resource. That's just going to be helpful. This isn't particularly synergistic with Hulkling, but I think it's just going to be good overall. And we have something like 4 Justice that cares about what you're doing. And I think that might be the only card that necessarily cares about what resources we're using, but still, an extra resource is an extra resource. Surveillance Team, we got 3 copies of that. Another core set card, 2-cost support, shield traded, so you can grab it with Evaluate Threat. Comes in with 3 scoop counters. When those are gone, you discard this card. And it has the action of exhaust this card and remove 1 scoop counter from it, remove 1 threat from a scheme. This can just be good to just sort of like help to keep any side scheme or the main scheme in check, and get them from, don't let the main scheme complete by just lowering an extra 1. You don't have to be doing a dedicated basic thwart, or maybe you only have 1 stat in your thwart, and this can just kind of help to buy you turns instead of rushing to try to get the main scheme down. Then we've got the last 2 cards here. We've got Heroic Conditioning, a new card out of Wonder Man, 3-cost upgrade. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. You get +3 hit points and gain +1 thwart. A little expensive, but I think that in Hulkling, you should have the ability to pretty easily play this. It's another reason why we've got Power of Justice. And yeah, overall, just give yourself 16 hit points. Makes it so that, anything we're doing with our hit points is going to be that much easier. And then we've got Heroic Intuition, which is kind of the same as Heroic Conditioning. It is a 2-cost upgrade, and play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Give yourself +1 thwart. We are the thwarting character here. Obviously, we're going to have the flexibility. We're going to be able to do whatever we need to with our our shapeshift abilities, but we're going to be the dedicated thwarter here. Let's make ourselves as potent as possible, and we can always use that shape, the infiltration shape, to imitation. I might have said that incorrectly before, but basically the imitation form is going to make it so that we are just thwarting for 5. Can we thwart for 5? We can. Yeah, basic 1 + 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, wow, that would be great. You can just be the max thwarter. But yeah, overall, I think this deck was fun. Try it out and let me know how it goes. But let's go talk about the Nemesis and Obligation. So Complicated Lineage is the obligation give to the Teddy Altman player. You may choose to flip to Alter Ego, choose to either exhaust Teddy Altman and remove this from the game, or discard each shapeshift upgrade you control, discard this card. I'm not too concerned about this. You can exhaust Teddy, and you have a pretty good way to ready him back up, probably, because if you don't already have a shapeshift card in your hand at the top of your turn, you can just go find one and put it into play. Yes, you won't be able to necessarily recover, which might have been the reason why you went Alter Ego, but you basically can counteract the exhausting him because you can just play out a shapeshift card, and the Alter Ego side can just go get you a shapeshift card. The other point of this, where you discard the shapeshift card you control, all this really means is you might see this again, but you can just buy that back. Just go, okay, I'm going to use Teddy to grab the shapeshift card I just discarded, and just go from there. Obviously, it's a little bit more finicky if you choose not to flip down to Alter Ego and you're staying in hero form. Maybe you just have a shapeshift upgrade in your hand, and so it's kind of like, okay, I wasn't really going to use this anyway, so let me just use my Wiccan stats, and then I can play out another shapeshift card and just ready back up and can go on. There's a lot of choices here, and I do think that in terms of what a obligation represents, this is fine. It definitely highlights the fact that he is a Kree and a Skrull, and I like that. And yeah, overall, I think there's decisions to be made. This is not a bad obligation. It's just one that I feel like doesn't actually penalize you as much as other obligations tend to. Moving on to the Nemesis kit, we have Super Skrull and Skrull Business. So now that we have a Super Skrull minion, I'm really waiting for us to have the Super Adaptoid minion somewhere in here. That could just be a modular encounter set, but we have representation for Super Skrull. Let's get representation for Super Adaptoid, and then after that, let's get a Mimic Hero pack. But so it is a minion with 1 scheme, 1 attack, 5 hit points. It is Elite and Skrull traded, and the Force Interrupt of when Super Skrull attacks you, discard the top card of your deck. If that card's printed resource has energy. Super Skrull gets +2 attack for this attack. If it has a mental, discard 1 card from your hand. If it has a physical, Super Skrull gets a tough status card. And if it has a wild, discard an upgrade you control. I like the fact that this is symbolic of the Fantastic Four, those 4 different resources. Maybe not necessarily do something that correlates directly to the energy resource they're doing, but you can reasonably say, like, okay, the energy resource, that could be the Human Torch. The mental resource can be Reed. The physical resource could be the Thing. And the wild could be the Invisible Woman, because she's like just sneaking an upgrade away from you. And that shows up as a good representation of his powers. And that's just me kind of maybe overreading into it. If he had Quick Strike, I think this would be scarier. I don't find this to be too scary. But let's look at the side scheme, because that can sometimes add additional context. So Skrull Business is a side scheme that comes in with 5 threat on it. That's a lot for one of these. And the force responsive: after any number of cards are discarded from the top of a player's deck, place those cards face down underneath this scheme. So you're going to be losing some cards, and Super Skrull is going to be doing it, and you're going to need to get rid of this if you want to get back to it. And then it has the acceleration icon. So yeah, overall, I think this is a good package. I think they interact with each other really well. If you are somebody like Iron Man or Domino, this coming out is going to kind of be a counter to what you're doing there, and that's fun. I love when heroes kind of have cross-pollination like that, where the Nemesis kit kind of nerfs a couple strategies out of nowhere. But yeah, overall, I think this is a good time, and let's look at the other cards. So we have 2 copies of You're Coming With Me, which is a treachery with, when revealed in Alter Ego, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Place 1 threat on the main scheme for each different resource icon discarded this way. And in hero form, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Take 1 damage for each different resource icon discarded this way. And yeah, it could be all 4 of them. I think overall this is fun because it interacts with Skrull Business. I kind of see this as, you know, if we ever see a Skrull scenario, are they going to be just discarding cards at the top of our deck? We have precedent for that. It would not seem unusual. It's not necessarily where I would have gone, but I can kind of see how that allows you to discard cards, and suddenly you can say, well, based on what you discarded, how is the Skrull going to deceive you? And that's kind of fun too. Overall, yeah, I think this being a alter ego hero kind of what's it going to do thing is fun, and definitely is something to worry about, because yes, I guess at most it's going to put 3 threat onto the main scheme, or it's going to deal 3 damage to you. You already have to jump through the hurdles of getting the Shadow of the Past or the equivalent for this to be something you have to concern yourself about. But I don't know if this has ever ended a game for me, but it's definitely something where it's like, oh no, oh gosh, and just sort of like made me fumble as I'm running into the end zone. Last card for the day, we've got Fantastic Powers. It is a attachment superpower traded. It gives +1 attack, +1 scheme, and attaches to a minion. Attached minion gets +3 hit points and gains Retaliate 1. When revealed, find Super Skrull, put him into play, engage with you, and attach Fantastic Powers to him. If you are in hero form, Super Skrull attacks you. I think in terms of just what Super Skrull does, I think this is a really cool attachment. And it makes him a little bit scarier. It definitely gets him going with what he's looking to do. And yeah, just gaining him extra hit points. Now he has 8 hit points and Retaliate 1. This is going to affect your gameplay in some form or fashion. You don't want him attacking you a bunch of times, because you're going to be losing cards. He's going to be gaining whatever traits he has. And yeah, just overall, I think this is a good kind of like bow onto the Nemesis kit. But that is Hulkling. I've been really impressed with Hulkling. I think that he is a very adaptable hero. I think that if you are somebody who is just looking to be able to kind of fit whatever role at the table you want to, Hulkling's a good place to start and figure out your aspect from there. He does a lot of like cross aspect pollination by just kind of being able to help anywhere, and he's well rounded in that way. And yeah, I think just overall he's a fun hero. He doesn't crack my like top 10, but I think that there's so many heroes now that's going to be a feat in itself. And yeah, I just enjoy him, and I hope you do too. Let me know in the comments, what is your favorite card from Hulkling? What do you like to do with him? What aspect do you like him in? And yeah, if this was helpful, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. You're doing great. Keep it up.